Good morning, or afternoon, or noon, or whatever.
Whatever is the case.
Yes, I am now allowing cameras with you. I see that we started the meeting without allowing that, and we so much want to see you also if that is possible. But maybe Ólöf, if I start formally the meeting, you can continue this allowance here.
Yeah, I'll try and settings. It must be that. No?
Yeah, or just go over like allowing camera for each and everyone.
Oh,
I'm not sure if you can do it. You know.
Let's see, the camera is
It's always much more
allowed.
fun
There we
to have
go.
you. We're just giving this typical 2 to 3 minutes. People are joining. But we were so happy to see how many people registered, and some of the people registered to be able to get the info afterwards. So that's also good to see.
I'm going to allow the mic also, but would ask you maybe to mute yourselves while the presentations are ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely. And great to see where you're from and where you're participating from. I see this is a truly global meeting. It's people from all over the world that are registering. We sent this also to all the members that were registered for our NOREC project. We are still, hosting the membership there, and the plan is to be more active in all kind of, maybe hosting events like this more regularly, though the project itself is over, but there is so much still going on in the network and in other projects also. So we are really keen on keeping this great momentum alive, and the network that is still really much active in that sense. But now I'm just going to move on, and people, they just continue to give their greetings from where they are, Denmark and Finland, and all over the world, and the Nordics, of course. This is a joint event between two projects, one that is going on now and actively going on. It's the European project called Phoenix 4.0, and our NOREC and Nordic project called Nordic Regenerative Tourism. And we wanted to showcase a little bit the findings between those two, also to go a little bit back into the findings we had in the Nordic project, and how we have implemented also into our project, other projects, the findings and knowledge and the tools that we have been working on. And just a little bit and a short intro into the Phoenix project. That is it's a project that is supporting small and medium-sized companies all over Europe. And we just finished the process of the funding for SMEs. So in Iceland, for example, we can fund 5 collaborative projects with 25,000 euros each. So that's a great opportunity for small and medium-sized companies all over Europe to work on all kinds of solutions that are connected to resilience, regenerative development in tourism, digitalization, and so on. So it's a huge boost for them. I think overall the partners, it's probably, if you take all the fundings together, it's roughly around 700,000 euros that goes directly in support to the SMEs. So that's a great opportunity to have this funding resources inside of Phoenix. Also, what we really wanted you to know, if you haven't already, I think Olaf just put in the chat the webpage for Phoenix, and there you can find records in the academy that we host there, records from over 12 different workshops that have been hosted already, and where we have had like trainers introducing all kinds of tools and findings. So that's a lot of inspiration you can find there. And also what we have been doing there is collecting best practices, and that's called Pathway Pioneers. And there you can also find what companies all over Europe are doing already regarding resilient and regenerative development and digitalization. So there you can also find inspiration. And if you go through this and you have in mind maybe some great examples that you could send us, like companies that are doing great things, that would be highly appreciated if you would send us some links to companies that are doing good things. So we ask that politely of you, if you could do that. But I just started this without telling my name or anything. My name is Ásta Kristín, and I run the Iceland Tourism Cluster. I will present the case for you in the end of this program, but we will have 3 presentations. And then if we have time, we really want to also get your questions and discussions in place. But we will start with Ólafur Atladóttir, that has been project manager both in Noreg and also in Phoenix. And she will go through the structure and building of tools that we found and that we established in Noreg, the Nordic Regenerative Tourism Project, and also how that connects into Phoenix and also into other projects that she has been leading. So now I will just give you the stage, Olaf, and we will keep the ball rolling then. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. So as Ásta mentioned, I've been fortunate enough to participate in both the Nordic Regenerative Tourism Project and currently in the Phoenix 4.0 project, which is ongoing, a collaboration between 8 different partners in 6 different countries. So it's covering a lot of bases in Europe, which is also really, really nice. But just to show you, give you a short insight into Nordic Regenerative Tourism. It was a Nordic project ongoing from 2022 and ended at the end of the year 2024. The website is still up with all the content and all the tools that we did develop. So of course, if you would like to become members of the Noreg community, you can still join as a member and then gain access to the tools that I will be describing now. And I'm just showing you the home the landing page for the Noreg website. Now, one of the things that is very important when you work in projects like these, because you want them to have some sort of lifespan post-project, but you also want them to have some relevance for the end users, if you will, or the main beneficiaries. And that you can do by building networks. And today's joint venture, as Ásta mentioned, is of course a collaboration between Phoenix 4.0 and the Noreg project, and as such it sort of calls into both the projects. Ásta gave you a short introduction of the Phoenix project, but just to show you the 4 main pillars of the project, which are also pillars but also milestones along the pathway of Phoenix. We have the inspiration, the Pathway Pioneers, that are a compendium of tourism best practices throughout Europe, and the blueprint for resilient tourism that has been developed and is accessible on the Phoenix website. And like Ásta, I encourage you to join Phoenix. just through the website, go through the Resilience Navigator, which gives you a really good sort of spot check on where you are within your own operations, and is a really good sort of placeholder just to sort of analyze yourself and define your ambitions maybe. And your ambitions then can be strengthened, strengthened through the second pillar, which is the wisdom, where we have been offering SME trainings. They are then presented through the Phoenix Academy and Lab and the Risk and Management Education and Planning Guide. Ásta mentioned the funding, the collaborative projects that are just starting later this year. And then at the end, we of course want to capitalize on this, be able to share the results and share the knowledge gained through Phoenix. Now, just to give a short sort of short visual on regenerative tourism. This is a great visual defined by Dr. Diane Dredge, way over in Australia. We've been fortunate enough to work with her a bit through the project, where you end in regenerative tourism, starting, going through conventional into the green, sort of within parentheses, into the restorative, where you want to have some sort of positive feedback that then you're crossing through sustainable, and into the regenerative tourism, where tourism is having a positive impact both on society, social and environmental aspects that they sort of work within. And I think that is sort of, it calls for a deeper understanding and a placement of tourism within those aspects, within society, within the environment, instead of maybe looking at those society and environment as a resource that you have to use sustainably. You sort of place tourism within that, and that is really important. Now, Noreg aimed to provide relevant tours for SM micro-ES, that is small and micro-sized enterprises, not medium-sized even, but micro-sized, with a maximum employee status of 25, way below the 250 defined by OECD for medium-sized enterprises, because that is the reality of tourism in at least the Nordic countries and probably all around Europe also. So we wanted those to be the main beneficiaries, and also the regional DMOs, because they are often in rural or maybe small regions, and they can also benefit from having some tools in their toolboxes that they can work with to collaborate with the small enterprises or the local tourism entrepreneurs in what they're doing. Now, the main principles, sort of classic: people, where we want to add local value, we want to encourage participation and involvement on a local scale, both within the development of tourism. So tourism is having a dialogue with local residents, local people, but also with the guests to see how that is, and try to involve them actively, not only sort of reaching out through a survey, but, giving them a voice within tourism development in the local area. Environment, where we seek balance, and where we look at the diversity of the environment and seek to maintain that, because diversity can both be a status and a process, and that from a biodiversity point of view is a very important distinction. And then again, the businesses, because the businesses need to be viable, just so they can continue participating within the societies. Please let me know if the screen disappears again. So our main focus areas were the first mile training workshops and initiatives. They were the learning about and exploring, what is wrong here? Sorry about that again. Learning about and exploring citizen science products as product development for local actors. Exploring approaches on how to evaluate regenerative tourism in a newfangled way, maybe moving away from pure economic measurements and into sort of well-being and societal measurements, and then providing support for policymakers on all levels. Now, the first mile, just to jump into that because I'm aware of the time, where they were sort of introduced to the SMEs and the local DMOs participating in Noreg, with these key points of things that you could sort of, they're focusing on the doable and the urgent for individual operators, because sometimes an SME, which is maybe a company with 1 to 3 all year employees, they get overwhelmed by the big scale ambitions of national strategies or you know, the climate change or all these big issues that we sort of have to sort of be focused on and have to be aware of. And sometimes it calls for maybe scaling a bit back, looking towards your closer environment, your own operations, and focusing on things that you can do now, things that you can do smarter, small starts so that you can make large tasks possible, sort of eating the elephant with a spoon instead of trying to gobble it in one bite, and thus and through that setting the stage for the next mile to be able to optimize larger scale efforts so that one day you can look back at all your small steps and be so proud of the huge elephant that you seem to have digested without maybe even knowing it. Now within Norrec we had 3 activities or 3 active focus areas defined. It was the development of low footprint experiences, the encouragement of local buying, and the focus on leaving no trace. And we offered a targeted onboarding program to facilitate the engaging with and adopting of first mile initiatives in operations for SMEs. And again, this can all be accessed in through the membership page. Now, citizen science, these endeavors, which have been sort of a focus within large-scale social and environmental research projects, they share many qualities with regenerative tourism in that they are place-based, because regenerative tourism focuses a lot on the fact that you can't have an one-size-fits-all solution for all communities, for all tourism actors. You have to have a place-based approach. You have to have a participatory approach, which is of course the core of citizen science projects. Co-creation is good because citizen science sometimes starts focusing only on the large-scale data gathering, but of course co-creation, asking relevant questions to start with within science projects that are relevant for communities, for, you know, that are questions being asked by the people who are immersing themselves in nature. That is an important thing. And then co-creation, and then seeing how you can interpret results. So all the way through the projects, it can be important. And these projects can address nature, they can address community, and they offer the visitor a chance to participate and give back in a relevant way that is meaningful for the destination. And here is an example: Norrec Citizen Science, a project that was started within the realm of Nordic regenerative tourism, which focused on seal monitoring in Snæfellsnes Regional Park, and was a collaboration between the Youth for Arctic Nation project, based in Hvammstangi in northwest, an international project based in Hvammstangi in northwest Iceland, and the Snæfellsnes Regional Park in West Iceland. And it was aimed at offering participants a chance to collect wildlife monitoring area, giving some then results and focusing on the targeted species, then through that offering environmental education and training, and then connecting the project with local schools and local stakeholders, so it became sort of a matrix of participation. It was a really interesting project and wonderful to follow. Now here we have the evaluation of regenerative approaches, where we were trying to answer new questions concerning the benefits of tourism, not only the economic factors, but also well-being. I mean, the human well-being and health factor, the community well-being factors, environmental well-being and human capability, and then also mixing that up with our own principles and focus areas that I mentioned before. And I just wanted to see if this works. Opening up, can you see the matrix that I'm opening up here on the website? Does it show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can see here how we put this up as an interactive matrix. And this is one of our dreams, would be to be able to renew this and update this. But for the time being, we described, so we put it on this axis where here you have something that is close to people and participation and human well-being, where we're focusing on how can you evaluate individual value within community. We have a short description. We have a suggested method for evaluation, and then we have a reference for those who want to learn more about it. Again, we can look at the holistic for, you know, for businesses, how holistic, what are holistic approaches they're using for community well-being, where you look at what is our community growing and thriving. And this indicator would then look at the balance between seasonal tourists and all year residents. You know, and this is the description, suggested methods for evaluation again, and the reference. So this is what we were looking at as a tool for it could be for communities, it could be for tourism DMOs or regional clusters or business consortiums, or even small businesses to work on. So this was a tool that we were very proud of developing. And then we also looked at how Nordic and public policy could work together to look at whether regenerative tourism might be the future approach for small businesses and places. Now, and that is because, of course, regenerative tourism is place-based. It has its foundations in regional and local cooperation. It's based on the needs and realities of small local communities, and it has a strong community connection, focused again through the I'm wondering what you can see now. Let's see. Can you see the presentation now?
Yes, but it's in like display.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So I'm going to start again. Sorry about this again. I don't know what my computer is doing to me today. So just sharing the content again. Yeah, there we go. And then emphasizing these participatory and co-created projects. Now, we are looking at the fact that regenerative tourism is recent, yes, but we can discern common threads, and that is this uniqueness of places, tourism as a part of community, as I mentioned, the interconnectedness of all human endeavors, because it's sort of like the butterfly in the desert example, the chaos example. All things are connected, so a holistic way of approaching things is the only way to go. And then we need to realize and work from the fact that tourism is a cross-sectoral endeavor, finding the balance between different needs and ambitions, because this calls for us not just focusing on one particular need set, but all of them, and then focusing on the well-being and flourishing of its main resources, communities, and nature. And this we are now doing in Fjallabygd, in a small community in the north of Iceland, where we're moving from destination-focused planning towards long-term place stewardship. We are working on a holistic strategy for the year, a community-based approach where we are also utilizing the cluster methodology, trying to engage all stakeholders widely defined within the community, because small communities offer this opportunity to activate everyone within them, working on a long-term framework and connecting to other planning initiatives. So tourism doesn't come from the outside, but then works within. Again, because this is so core, defining the role of tourism within the community, developing around the focus of tourism contributing to and enriching the community, and trying to empower stakeholders, which are often these small businesses that are just trying to keep themselves above the red line, so that they can, in a proud way or through their own small steps, contribute to the regeneration of nature and environment and the strengthening of the community. And this calls for us focusing on these questions on how do we want our community to be enriched? What does the regeneration of nature entail? And that again calls for this question of diversity. Is it a status or is it a process? So are we then looking at a process a natural process, or are we looking at keeping things as they are now, taking a snapshot? And that is a really sort of an ethical consideration. And can we or should we define our end goal? So this is what I wanted to sort of introduce to you today. I thank you so much for your listening, and then give the floor to Þuríður, and we'll now stop sharing.
Yes, thank you so much, Ólöf. And what we also do in all of our projects, I mean, we work together across different organizations and you know, with universities or with companies and so on, different stakeholders. And we have also been working closely with Visit Reykjanes for the last years. And we are kind of associated partners in each other's projects, and we try to find projects that are really, you know, of asset for our members and for the communities that we are working for. And Þuríður H. Aradóttir Brown, the managing director of Visit Reykjanes, is no exception in this. She is really out there finding ways to have the most impact on the communities that she is responsible for and working for. And she is working on, I don't know how many European projects now at the moment, but she will be sharing at least one or two of them. And I just want to give the floor to you, Þura, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Ásta. It's a pleasure to be here. Through the NOREC project, Ásta and Ólöf introduced, or have been kind of introducing regenerative tourism into our work, or our, like, trying to help us shape our business or our projects in the generative way. Of course, we've all been talking about sustainable tourism for a long time, but being regenerative is it's bigger. And it's something that fits very well into our work here at Reykjanes Peninsula, the DMO. So I'm gonna share my presentation with you guys. Here we go. Kind of want to see you as well. Here it is. So what I'm focusing on today is our Regenerate project, supported by the Northern Periphery and Arctic program. As to Ólöf has already gone through, the focus on the SMEs. We felt that there was a lot of projects going on to help SMEs comprehend this task of being regenerative and kind of focusing on maybe how businesses can be regenerative, but we felt that there was some lack on some help to the supportive system. So Regenerate is in that category. And then I'm going a little bit into Rethink project that we are also working on, that is very closely connected to Regenerate project. But we're also working on another short-term project called Green Footprint, where we're focusing more on the citizen science or kind of how to become a better visitor. But that's an introduction to another webinar or masterclass. All right, so let's get started. So we are working with partners from Finland, Sweden, Ireland, and then some associate partners here in Iceland as well. So it's a big concept, the regenerative tourism concept, but we did make changes to our approach here in Reykjanes, where our strategy is to be regenerative tourism destination, and with that, working with businesses in the region to do better, not sustain or keep things as is, but to do better and leave things better than we took them, and with that create more support to the SMEs that want to go into that direction. We are halfway into the project, so I don't have fully our outputs like Olaf has mentioned, but it is very connected to those projects and toolboxes and best practices that have already been published elsewhere, where we are trying to figure out the best ways for our regions. We have 6 partners in those countries that I already mentioned. It's a 3-year project, and our aim is to create these tourism hubs or regenerative hubs in each one of our communities. What kind of hubs is yet to be decided, but through the work that we have already done is that these hubs can either be it's some sort of information hubs or cooperation or collaboration hubs within the regions, both to support the businesses to create better outputs in our local projects, but also to help the visitor to be a better visitor and leave things in a better way. So we are in the process of gathering everything that we know about regenerative tourism within our local area and the region. And next step is working on creating these hubs. One of the outputs that we are looking into now and is something that Ásta is going into more in the next presentation, is that the importance of being able to build a regenerative destination is the collaboration within the region. It is to collectively find these businesses and help them work together on creating something bigger and better. It's one thing to be able to work on your business and create projects or do things that make your business better, but being regenerative is taking part in building a better destination for the whole the local area. So this is something that we are working on today to help our businesses be better and to support the local community at the same time. One of the things that we have already established is mapping out our stakeholders, and it's we're doing this in cooperation with the Icelandic Tourism Cluster. They have a very good stakeholder map for tourism in Iceland, but we want to create a better understanding on the stakeholder map within our local area and connecting the dots. It's simpler, it's easier to be able to see things visual than and for me to tell people to work together, just to get the idea of how we can create better outputs, better understanding, and move forward without dwelling too much on the past. But these are the stakeholders that are important to us. It's all the tourism companies and the kind of connected services in tourism. We can find, like in COVID and in other difficult or challenges that we face on a regular basis, that tourism is not just tourism business. I mean, it's the community, it's other businesses. There's a lot of companies and the local community is very involved in tourism without maybe knowing that they are. And we need to keep them involved and help them participate in small small gestures or just having opinions about how things could be better. Of course, the local communities are one of our key stakeholders, and the municipalities, the understanding of what tourism is for the community and how it is involved with other industries and so on. And then, of course, to support all of this work that we're doing, we need numbers, we need research, and we need the academia working with us to provide the better understanding. So many of our work, or much of our work, is connected to the Nordic as well, where we are trying to figure out or build solutions for the DMOs and the supportive businesses, using what has been done, best practices and toolboxes that are already involved, and then help the local authorities to build strategies around it. Now we have a webinar coming up in the fall, where we have inputs from all our partnering countries. It's the first webinar in our series, so it is more of an introduction into regenerative tourism in each country. And then from there, we continue to build on these outputs that we will gather. Let me see. Yep. Now, with our with this project on Regenerate, we started a short-term project together with the RECCI project that is supported by Aurora, another Nordic fund, Interreg fund. But with Rethink, we are gathering information from all Nordic projects, reaching out to the Baltics and now into Europe, other European projects. There's a lot of projects going on within, for example, in the Nordics about regenerative tourism. With Rethink, we're focusing on nature tourism, but however, we are building, with the project, we are building a toolbox for the DMOs in all the countries, gathering best practices, gathering toolboxes that have been created, figuring out what is being done and what is missing, finding the gaps in the projects and figuring out the need for future projects as well. So it's a collaborative project, and it kind of gathers everything that we're building on, everything that we know, and going forward, what is needed and what kind of toolbox fits DMOs, what are they looking for, and what could help them do better and be better at the project that they're working on. So what we're working on now is mapping. We've already mapped out our stakeholders and kind of the tourism model of our project. Now we are building into our hubs, collecting information and figuring out what fits each local or each region or each partner, and establishing that within the next year to then upscale it into working further with it. We are of course hoping that, well, the Rethink project will last shorter than the Regenerate project, so we are hoping that we can collaborate on that going forward. But we have, I'll get into that later, some information on how you can follow everything that we're doing, and take part in it as well. So we are working now on collecting our stakeholders and working towards creating the hubs and building on the capacity and the support that our businesses need. And then going forward, collecting, of course, good practices in each of the countries. This will be published now in June, I guess, where we have collected some examples from all of the countries participating in Regenerate. That will be then accessible through the website of Regenerate and Rethink. And if you would like to follow, of course, we have our websites for both projects. We are on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. And with the Rethink project, we are building our media around Reggae project that is now ending this fall, and Rethink will take over those platforms. And then, of course, I added a link or information on our LinkedIn page where we are collecting we're collecting specialists in regenerative tourism and people working in these projects all around Europe to create some sort of collaboration platform for projects that have already been worked on, but also on projects that might be developed in the future going forward. So I think I stop here. If there are questions, then later on.
Yeah, and please feel free to put questions or thoughts into the chat box, and we'll try to do our very best to go over that also before the ending. But thank you so much, Þura. And now I will jump into the last presentation of today. And actually that presentation maybe wraps up what we have been like, because I think many of you that are here participating today have been participating in some projects over the years. I mean, whether it's European projects, Nordic projects, or like local projects or global projects. And many of them have big kind of words and big kind of, you know, goals and what we are aiming to do and like philosophy around a lot of big words and big goals. But then also, I mean, when we really get to the point to really work on the mythology and work on these big words and what they really mean and how we can make a lasting impact of the projects that we are working on, because for me personally, I think there's nothing more frustrating than working on a big project with a huge amount of partners and people and so on. And it's only meetings and reports and re-meetings and then, you know, conferences and talk after talk after talk. But that's, I mean, there are no actions in only talking. And of course, I'm not saying that that's the end of the project. It's always some actionable things that also happen. But the most rewarding projects are those that you really feel like what you are, you know, doing or talking about really gets into implementation and action. And that's exactly what I wanted to leave you with in this last presentation, because then we have been pulling out of all these projects that both Olaf and Þura was talking about. We have now like a pool of different ways of doing things, different tools to implement and ideas that are just a new knowledge base for us in the cluster, but also in the community here that we work with. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story behind Grindavík. I don't know if you know that story, but Grindavík was the town here in Iceland that was evacuated during an eruption that started in 23. And I will show you maybe here a little facts about that. There were 3,800 people, residents, that needed to leave their homes overnight, and they haven't been able to go back. And now there's like 3 years ago. Some of them go, once in a while, but I mean, it's maybe about 200 people that have moved back, but not like completely back. There were 80 companies or businesses facing extreme uncertainty, didn't know what to do, and didn't know if they could turn back or if they needed to close their businesses and so what. But what we gathered was there were no information on how to handle situation like this. There was no playbook or nothing, no manual to kind of see what to do and how to continue. And actually, Þura, this is her area. This is a municipality that is under the umbrella of Visit Reykjanes. So of course they started to trying to when this was maybe had been going on for a little while, and it was obvious that people were not turning back soon. And also, I mean, of course, a lot of shock factors, without thinking about businesses, of course, just people and people not knowing if their homes would be safe and so on. So we will not go into that one. We will be focused on the business side on this. But it's really important to realize how you handle a community that completely needs to restart and rethink everything. I mean, we went through this together in COVID. Everyone knew a little bit like how the other was feeling because we were co-experiencing this. But in this case, this is just really isolated community that goes through this, and the world is just kind of watching in that sense. But fortunately, we had a lot of ideas, and we could also come in with and what they did, like in Visit Reykjanes and in the support system there, they started to kind of go into this needs analysis really shortly, like maybe within a year or within some months. They had started to really like, okay, how can we be of a support to you that will be something that you can use into the recovery, into the resilience, and so on. And of course, for the first months and maybe 1-2 years for many, there was just I mean, people just couldn't focus on their business or what they wanted to do and how they wanted to continue. It was just a lot of feelings and a lot of difficult emotions to wrap around. But the people in Grindavík and the business owners, these are just some people that I mean, I haven't come around such a resilient group of people. They just decided they wanted to move forward, and they wanted to do this and super independently also. I mean, of course, later on there was funding through all kind of fundings, but not in a huge way, and they really needed to stand strong in their 2 feet in that sense, and really the group and the project that was then established around this. We call it Grindavík Saman í Sókn. It's if I translate that, it's more like together moving forward. So really early on, they established this kind of energy together that they were just going to do this. They were going to push through. They were going to do everything in their power to rebuild what they had, but also to not rebuild as it was, but to look at this as an opportunity to also do better and do different kind of things. And we really used this methodology and it is rooted in the belief that lasting recovery requires conversations, collaboration, and shared future vision. And this is also the DNA of our cluster. So we are trying to really move that methodology forward into, and also connects with what Ólöf was telling about in Fjallabyggð, the municipality, like how we need to change mindsets and do things differently. And this project is owned by the Association of Municipalities in the region of Reykjanes, and it's implemented by the Iceland Tourism Cluster. And the partners are Visit Reykjanes, Heklan, and City of Grindavík, which is really important. And it is funded by the National Regional Development Plan or Fund. So Þura, thank God for Þura, she has been applying into and finding both the gaps and the loops in the system and how we can support and where we can find the funding to really sit down with the companies and move this forward. So that has been established, and now the companies have the support that they need, kind of to really move on in that sense. The methodology is built on this maybe 3 pillars. It's resilience and transformative capacity. It's of course the collaboration and analysis of the situation that is ongoing. We sat down and we are still doing kind of the mapping of the ecosystem, but we did that also like with the community and went through the strengths and weaknesses and like where are these hidden opportunities in this strategy? I mean, how can we move forward from what we have that nobody chose, and it was nobody's mistake, or I mean, this could not. I mean, this is just a natural disaster that people need to learn from and move away from. And then we use the cluster thinking and the ecosystem, and there we are viewing the local economy as an it's this interwoven system where we also know there's a competition, but there is so much opportunity in cooperating through the competition and have this collective strength that is created through this ecosystem thinking. And how we have been working and how we have implemented also the knowledge from all this projects that we have been participating in. We have learned how best practices and how we can really get some impact or real solutions out of the projects. The peer-to-peer format is far the best, and I recommend that you try to connect people and have them co-sharing and co-owning the solutions that are in hand. And this is where participants bring their own experience and challenges to the table. So they are sharing and caring for each other. And our role as a facilitator is to create the right atmosphere, to create and provide the right tools and the pages and everything that they need. But they are the ones that are like creating the real magic. Then we have this inspiration, action, and flipped classroom. So this is how we operate. Every session is split into 2 different ways, in 2 different ways. The first one takes one of the session holds learning material and pre-recording with external speakers and curated learning. So that is the part where the participant can just watch whenever they have the time. They don't need to meet to do that. They can just do that, whenever it suits them. But the second session in one of this in every session is the time where everyone meets online or on site. It depends. and then they work together on real issues, projects that we have provided them, and so on. So if we think about this as 6 different modules, one module is split into this pre-learning and then working together. I hope I'm talking clear in this. What we also had, I mean, we are here talking about tourism and how we can implement this regenerative or resilient development into that. But what we did here in Grindavík was to have all the businesses together. So it was a mixed industries and equal voice, because it was a need for all the businesses to work together. And then we hosted all the documents and all the learnings into one digital platform in Notion, where all the sessions are kept, all the Miro boards that they are working on between meetings or in meetings are kept there, so they can always visit that later on, and if they miss a session or whatever. So this is the journey, the 6 modules that we went through, and the first one was getting into the heart of Grindavík. What is the heart beating for? So it was back on track. Then we had competitive ads, product and innovation, image and marketing, and this was all like I said, divided into this flipped classroom. And also what was really important was this bottom-up angling all industries and getting them all together, using tourism as a tool in that, because that can be the driving force also for other industries, but also acknowledging, that every industry matters and they all need kind of a seat at the table in this whole ecosystem. And in this sense, tourism is not the only industry that matters, and it's super important not to have a laser focus just on one solution. But it's not the measure of recovery, it's not a replacement of community choices, and it's not an end in itself. But it is this really local and global connection to visitors. It's a platform for storytelling. It's a driver of infrastructure and services in the whole that all the community uses and can benefit from, and it's also a catalyst for cross-sector collaboration and innovation. So it's like the two that can glue the other things together, and also just to showcase, the resilience and the regeneration and why both is super important in this. To have the resilience, this inner strength and trust in the social infrastructure to build up together, be better together than individually, and the shared value also as the compass of like navigating how we are going to go through this and how we are going to be stronger afterwards. And then also implementing this mindset of what regenerative tourism and what the regenerative development means for a community, not only as big words and fancy words and strategies or policies, but how this can really stay inside, like how can you use this methodology to be a better and more attractive, community that really works, does both the talk and the walk in that sense. And we have already finished the first chapter of this project, and now we are continuing. We are starting the next chapter, and the next chapter is more or less implementing all these ideas that came through. This was like they have now a shared vision for 23. They have this priority action plan that they are just going to dive into. They have this shared brand identity that they will now start an action in and promoting and doing. They have so much stronger network, so now they know really, where to look, who knows what, who to lean onto, and so on. They have also decided to make establish a formal industry association, and we of course want to want to continue with this cluster methodology and really implement that and help them to see that through. And then also what is really important, that this is a transferable model. We can take this knowledge and this what we have implemented already and the know-how and the workflow, and we can implement that with other destinations or other communities or other municipalities that need, you know, navigation and need maybe a guidance through. So just to give you a pointers in the end, the recovery is not funded from the outside. It grows from within, and there are no shortcuts in this. The people themselves, whether it's companies or tourism industries or communities, they need to, it needs to grow from the ground and up. It's never like a policy that you can just take and just like copy paste or push it through. And tourism can be used as the instrument or as the tool, but it's never the goal itself that we want tourism to be it. You know, it's just a really good tool to use in this sense. So I am really aware of time, and now we have 1 hour. We have finished the 1 hour, but I really want to give you an opportunity to ask questions if there are any questions, or send us in the chat, or you can also send us an email whenever. But it has been a really a great joy to have you here with us today. I think it's also really important that when we find projects or find ways or methodologies that really work, that we are willing to share them, and then we can use this power of collaboration to work on it, you know, and continue in that. So, are there any questions to any of us here that presented to you today?
There was a question that came earlier about if the models can be shared to other countries outside of Europe. I think, like, at least for Regenerate and Rethink and the Nordic project that are funded by EU, outputs should be available without cost, so they can be shared. So it's, I think that's right. I'm interpreting the rules right.
Yeah, I mean, for example, the Norrec website, the membership, we don't look at the nationality of the people who join us as members. We just think it's great to have members that want to see and share the tools that we have developed. So yeah, so I think that is at least open source, but we do like to have the members join. Yeah, but yeah, so definitely about that, and then always happy to share what we've been doing within the cluster, Iceland Tourism Cluster also.
And on the Norrec page, you just have to create an account and sign in.
You just have to register your email. And that's it.
Yeah.
So everything crystal clear then? And now I can't see anyone on the screen. Don't know if anyone is still here. But we have we recorded this, so everyone that was registered will get the recording, and maybe a short summary of what we did and the links to a material that we really think is helpful for you guys. And we also just want to encourage everyone to share good findings and best practices if you have them. So thank you for today, and we hope to see you again sometime really soon. And thank you, Ólöf and Þura, for being with us.
Thank you so much for joining, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Ég held ég var að gera end event til
þess að... Já, ég get gert það held ég líka.
Já, vilt þú gera það?